Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are Group 5 in subject Communication Research. We will present our topic, the effectiveness of Twitter as a news source among USIM students. My name is Nurrin Aimuny binti AMER 1171124. Chapter 1, Introduction. This chapter serves to introduce and outline the problem of the current study on effectiveness of Twitter as a news source among USIM students. It also sets forth the background of the problem, questions, objective, significance, and scope which are to be accomplished by the researcher. Next, background of the problem. In the current era of globalization, various types of information technology are present in human life to obtain information. Information is a basic need of every person for personal and environmental development. One of a social media as a news source is Twitter. In 2006, Twitter developed as a short message system for mobile phone communication and became a popular social media platform where users can read and share information in 140 characters. It has also become a growing news medium. Next, statement of the research problem. Although the response of Twitter was fast, the uncertainty of credibility person was an obstacle when you are doing news gathering. We cannot believe everything in social media. Some people just believe false statements that are not from authorized person. Besides, there is some misleading title and lead in tweets make people believe without read the whole story. According to the official website of Pejabat Mufti Wilayah Persekutuan, tabayun is a word derived from Arabic which means to establish and check the basis of its truth. News or any information received should be scrutinized and verified in advance its accuracy of information to prevent any agenda or bad things from happening, such as slander, cheating, and harming another person based on lust and hatred. The comment to tabayun is a very important comment so that we can avoid prejudice. Research questions. Number 1. How effective is Twitter as a news source among USIM students? Number 2. What factors are influencing USIM students in using Twitter? Number 3. How often USIM students use Twitter to read news? Number 4. How often USIM students click the link to a news story in tweet to read the whole story? Number 5. What kind of news topics USIM students follow in Twitter?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hi everyone, I am AINUR AININA binti ROSLI 1171128 as a second presenter. So I will continue to the next subtopic for the chapter 1, which are objective of the study, significance of the study, scope of the study, and last chapter summary. So, we have 5 objectives of the study. 1. Identify the effectiveness of Twitter as a news source among USIM students. 2. To explore the factors that influence USIM students by using Twitter. 3. To explain how USIM students use Twitter to read a news story. 4. To help USIM students click on a link to a news story in tweet and to read the whole story. 5. To know the kind of news topic that the student of USIM followed on Twitter. Next subtopic is significance of the study. This study will be conducted to Twitter users among USIM students to evaluate the effectiveness of Twitter as a news source. This research will be very beneficial a student, society, and researchers.
For the student, as we know, Twitter is the most significant sources which students can interact with news and share opinion about the current issue. They will know about news from Twitter first. This is because Twitter become a growing news platform. Through the study, it will help students to get news quickly and understand that a short message can contain a lot of information. Next, for the society, in our opinion, students and society have connected each other, so they can interact with Twitter about news through tweeting, sharing, replying, or reading tweet. It will help them to find out other sources to ensure the accuracy of the news. And last, for the researchers, this finding will enable to gain great knowledge in the communication. That's why Twitter plays an important role in communication as a news sources.
Now I will explain about scope of the study. Here we have 4 scopes, which are title of research, the time, respondent, and their purpose. So the title is the effectiveness of Twitter as a news source among USIM students. The time is it almost 4 months, started October 2020 to February 2021. Our respondent is Twitter users among USIM students, not include staff or lecturer. So the purpose, we have 2 purposes. The first one is to investigate the selected platform only, which is Twitter, not other social media like Facebook, Instagram, or Telegram. And the second one is to identify the effectiveness of Twitter as a news source about current issue or viral issue or anything else. Last but not least, chapter summary. For the chapter 1 is a general overview, presented the background of the problem, which discuss the problem statement, research question, objective, significant, and the scope of the study. So, Twitter is the most popular as a news source among students in Malaysia. That's all from me. Thank you for watching and listening.
Okay, we continue to Chapter 2, Literature Review. In this chapter covers previous studies on the use of Twitter, research concept, and theories appropriate to the researcher study. For past research, there have 2 functions of Twitter that I found in this previous study. First, Twitter as a news dissemination. A study of Stephen 2012 in his study state Twitter is among social media that has a suitable system to share information to users. This is something that always emphasized and utilized by journalists from Twitter about sharing information. Moreover, Twitter has various functions, especially retweets, that can give users the ability to organize and share news written by others. Based on Charles' 2011 studies, disseminating information in real time to all users is facilitated by Twitter. This makes the breaking news spreading directly from news source and geographic location of events with fast and easy. In addition, the information available on Twitter is also the main focus for users, especially information from official sources, valuable information about famous people, and important information. From this collection of information, users will synthesize and parse to produce interpretation that are revealed in a continuous process and actively disseminated. Second, Twitter as a news source. Based on the study of Marshall and Todd in 2012, the results of the study clearly show that since 2010, they have found an increase in the number of tweets included in the content of newspaper. This proves that Twitter has become more frequently used as a source for newspaper journalists. The general and interactive functions of Twitter make it an attractive source for journalists. Reporters can stay in touch with their reader, reach out to interesting people for comments and information, follow users, and specific discussion on specific topics, or find interesting quotes that they can incorporate in their news text. Furthermore, Twitter is used by journalists to get news story, help them find source and information, read news, and view various information to confirm the truth. Conceptualization. In this study, the researcher used 3 units of analysis that consist of news characteristic, visual news form, and feedback as a research concept based on the theory used. Okay, the first analysis is characteristic of news. There are informative, persuasive, and coercive news. Okay, informative news is news that communicated by sender to receiver by giving information, and then the receiver can make his or her own conclusion. Informative news can be political, economic, social, cultural, and religious. And then, news that contain persuasive characteristic is able to evoke understanding and awareness that what is conveyed will give a change of attitude. This changes through inviting, persuading, and encouraging. Besides that, coercive news, on the other hand, has the element of empowerment by using threats or intimidation when not implemented. The next analysis is the form of news. The form of news has 3 components, namely text, image, and text with image. Okay, news in the form of text is the result of activities that form ideas by using written language. In addition, image is often used by users of Twitter. An image is something that can be seen and consists of several spatial encounters between several features. Image can be a form of 2-dimensional visual news, for example, in the form of sketches, drawing, photos, and more. The text with image component is a combination of components from text and image. For feedback analysis, there are 2 components, namely perceive and ignore. Perceive is positive or negative response to a news, while ignore is a response that cannot get a response. So there is no reply or action from receiver. Based on thinking framework, the effectiveness of Twitter as a source among USIM students will be assessed through their opinion as news receiver from Twitter. Therefore, the characteristic and the form of visual news can be reason from USIM students to choose Twitter as their source. This is because the variety types of news posted by Twitter users can interest them.
My name is HAZIRAH BAJURI 1171120, and now I will explain about theoretical study. The impact of the Twitter social network, whether we realize it or not, will follow every development. It is because social media has an interest in shaping its users, and also the media have an interest in influencing audience. So the theory that we use in our study first is bullet theory or hypodermic needle theory. Okay, this theory stated that the message is injected by the media. The mind of the viewer, thus induced shift in the actions of the audience and the cycle towards the message. Bauer stated that the target audience was not passive. They actively seek what they want from the mass media. If they find it, they interpret accordingly with their predisposition and needs. This theory is tried to explain how to process the progress of the message from the source to the party receiving the message, which is the receiver. Someone who has a Twitter account will be easy to be influenced by the news. But along with its development, this theory got rebutted, especially after it was known that the audience can sort and choose which ones to follow and what not. So the next theory is agenda setting theory. Mass media has the ability to transfer what stands out in a story from their news agenda to the public agenda. News standard as information gatekeepers make choice about what to report and how to report it. Agenda setting is also the role of the mass media, which has the power to influence people's opinion and behavior. News or information conveyed by the media can even change people's lifestyle, behavior, or attitudes. The strategy that was deliberately created by Twitter was able to be widely accepted by the public so that the message and influence he wanted to impart to the public could be received. Message or influence that are deliberately created by the media do affect the audience, but the full acceptance stage is located at the will of the audience. So the summary for this chapter is there are a few past studies stated that the Twitter become one of the media for sharing information in journalism. Also, Twitter has become more regularly used source for newspaper journalism. So the conceptualization in this study, first is news characteristic, second is visual news form, and third is feedback. So the research story that we use is bullet theory and agenda setting theory.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is MAISARAH binti ASRAB and I will present to you about research methodology for this research in chapter 3. So first, let's go through the research design and framework.
This table were designed during the research process. It illustrates the flow of the step with the practical and analytical components based on Dr. John Latham research canvas.
The green color is the T foundation, which consists of the statement of the problem, the purpose, the research question, and also the conceptual framework. All of these points have been discussed by my friends in the previous slide in chapter 1 and chapter 2. While the yellow color represents the U methodology, which consists of the literature review, the overall approaches, the data collection, data analysis, and also conclusion. And this is the conceptual framework. In order to study the Twitter effectiveness as a news source, we need to measure the effectiveness in terms of the time range, the frequency, link clicks, is the information reliable, understandable, explainable, and is it helpful? Does it provide helpful information? Moreover, we are also going to measure the factors influencing USIM students in reading news on Twitter. In conjunction with the research design and framework, we decided to use quantitative study, which is through disseminating questionnaire through a Google form to the respondent.
The questionnaire is divided into 3 sections. Section A about subject background, Section B about Twitter usage among USIM students, and Section C about the satisfaction.
The population used by researcher in this study is the population of University Science Islam Malaysia students, and the total population is 12,333. So the sample size is 370 based on cohort sample size table. And the selection of the sample was made by purposive sampling, which means all USIM students who have Twitter account or considered as Twitter user are welcome to be our subject for this research. This study will be conducted in University Science Islam Malaysia in Nilai, Negeri Sembilan.
To avoid mistake in interpreting the term used, the following definitions are given, which include Twitter, news source, students, University Science Islam Malaysia, and also the effectiveness.
To collect data in this research, we use several data collection techniques, which includes disseminating questionnaire through Google Form to USIM students who are considered as Twitter users. And second is process the data in SPSS 25.0 program. This is to analyze the data collected. And the third one is the literature review, which is to give an overview for the analysis and the finding. As per I mentioned in the previous slide, the data collected from the questionnaire will be analyzed using SPSS 25.0, and we will be using the frequency distribution and describe descriptively.
The research instrument is the questionnaire, while the unit of analysis is Twitter users.
Next, we go through the reliability and validity. So the validity of this study will be determined using the pilot study. Comments and suggestions received from the representative of the pilot survey will lead to improvement and revision of the question, whether we want to add or eliminate the question. Even though this research cannot be generalized to all USIM students, but it can be representative for Twitter user among USIM students. So this instrument is valid for this research. As for the reliability, we test the question by using internal consistency procedure.
In this research, the questionnaire has been distributed in Google Form towards the application to 30 students, and after 3 weeks, all answers have successfully been collected.
And this is the alpha value of the instrument. Hence, online subtopic in this chapter 3. Then, next, we will see the questionnaire.
So for the conclusion, we can conclude that the Twitter is very widely used among users. It has a positive impact but sometimes can cause negative impact too. It is important for Twitter's users to research and study the news before they share it to others. So the effectiveness of using Twitter as a medium to get news can be used well and be one of the medium of choice to obtain accurate and correct source of news.